guys, it's Coach Gaglione here, and this is another edition of our Gags Goals Updates. If this is your first time stopping by, I'm Coach Gaglione. This is Gaglione Strength. I've been involved with powerlifting and coaching for over 13 years, and this is chronicling my weight loss journey. I've been as heavy as 340 pounds, and I'm actually had an all-time low weigh-in today. It was 221 and a half. So I very, very sub 222 was my lightest weigh-in ever. Really, really excited about that. And I just also want to say, I've had a lot of help along the way. I've failed many, many times. I've instructed a lot of help from people from all over Long Island area, New Jersey, and even, reference some people, learned a lot of stuff from like precision nutrition. I got like my blood work done with Dr. Tom Palella and many others. So I don't want to say, obviously, if you need a coach, feel free to, if you need some help, feel free to reach out. While I am not an expert in nutrition by any means, I would say my expertise is more in strength training. One thing I do have an advantage over is I've been a fat guy and I've been an obese for a good chunk of my life. Even in ninth grade, I was as heavy as 275 pounds. So I know what you're going through. So if you guys are interested, shoot me an email, gaglionestrength@gmail.com. Starting to do some nutrition consultations. I've recently gone through the precision nutrition curriculum. And I'm just trying to dive in more and more into like the diet, wellness space, the health space. I want to help more people that were kind of like me. So one thing that I can say is that we're going to focus more on habits. Again, I'm not like the most technical. I'm not going to be able to figure out like your precise macros that you need and all that. But what I can do is I can really help with your lifestyle and your habits. And for me, like that's like the most important thing, because I can give you the best diet. I can give you all the macros in the world. But if you don't have the habits in place, you don't have your sleep, your hydration, your food quality, your meal prep, your training, if all that stuff's on order, your stress management, it doesn't really matter. So it's mostly gonna be like through habit-based coaching. So depending on what you need, if that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email to gaglionestrength@gmail.com. I want to fill you guys in. So if you guys are interested, check it out. So on to the video. Again, this is my weight loss journey. I'm on my road to 198. I'm getting very, very close. My plan is, and again, this is one of those things, I've said this in previous videos, on my road to 242, my road to 220. Same thing goes with the road to 198. So my last, when I made 242 for the first time, you can kind of check out those videos if you'd like. I had a very successful meet at 242. I had a somewhat successful meet at 220, and I had another somewhat successful meet at 220. Due to some shoulder issues, but in all three cases, I did anywhere between like a 15 and 20 pound water cut, and I plan on kind of doing a similar thing. So if I do my math correctly and I get my handy dandy calculator, if I'm 218, that's kind of the goal. I'd like to be about between 215 and 218. It's going to give me about a 20 pound cushion to make 198. So right now I'm 221 and some change. So I just want to lose another like 5 or 6 pounds or so, and then just kind of stay on the bubble. It's going to put me in striking distance of the 198 class. I don't really advise these big weight cuts. So one of my kind of bucket list goals is I do want to squat over 800 pounds in 6 different weight classes. I'm not like the best lifter in the world by any means, but I think that would be a really cool accomplishment. And I don't think many people have done that, whether it be raw or equipped. I think that's still a great accomplishment, and it's something that just means something to me. I think when it comes to goals, I think it's really important. The goals mean something to you. And to me, it's just a way to kind of scratch that competitive itch. It's going to allow me to stay in the sport that I love, but still allow me to have some health and longevity. And that's really the end goal here. That's my main focus, is to get my fat loss down. So speaking of fat loss, my fat mass, according to the InBody scale, was at an all-time low. Since starting, I've lost about 100 pounds of pure body fat, which is really cool. I'm really excited to say that. That makes me feel like I've been doing this in a good, methodical way. I have minimal muscle loss in that time. I have obviously lost some absolute strength just because of leverages and things like that, but I've been able to retain a lot of muscle tissue. So very, very happy about that. So that means I'm on the right track. And my body fat percentage, I had my lowest in-body reading. It was just shy of, just under 19%. It was, I think, 18.9% today. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but for the first time, I was in a quote-unquote healthy range. For men, we'd like to see somewhere between 15 and like 19%. Sub 20%. This was the first time my in-body reading read under 20%. So I'm very, very excited about that. My end goal is 15%, so I can have a little bit of a cushion. I'd like to get to 15% body fat. Whether that happens this meet or sometime in the future, that's okay. I'm in this for the long term, but that's kind of my end goal there. So I'd like to be sit around somewhere between a 215 body weight. I'd like to sit somewhere around 15% body fat. And that's kind of like where, if I need to go a little bit lighter, closer to 210, I don't foresee myself going towards the 210 range until after the meet. And probably after 20, because I'm going to give myself a little bit of a diet break after the meet. But that's kind of my short-term goals for my nutrition. As I mentioned before, I have been implementing some fasting. So I'm going to give you, and that seems to be working really well. I've been condensing my feeding window, and I've been trying to tighten it up more and more. I've been trying to kind of, depending on when I train and when I kind of get done with our social media stuff, my last meal was somewhere between like 1 and 3 o'clock. I usually start eating around 7-ish, depending on my training for the day. Sometimes my powerlifting training ends up being a little bit later, so my last meal ends up getting pushed closer to like 2 or 3. If I'm doing my accessory work, I usually do that a little bit earlier in the day, so then my meal might be closer to like 1 or 2, my last meal. And my first meal might be like more like 6:37 in the morning. I try to get some carbs pre and post workout. I follow a lot of kind of principles from like stand efforting and the vertical diet. I like to have a lot of meat and rice. I usually use a lean beef and some rice, and that's usually my kind of pre and post workout fuel. And then I like to hit some micros. I like to get some spinach, some carrots. Sometimes I'll have some cranberry juice, some iodized salt, and usually get some dairy from like low-fat cheese sticks. Or sometimes on a high-carb day, I might have some yogurt, just to kind of get some of those good healthy bacteria and things like that. So I use a lot of principles of the vertical diet. I've also, that's been something I've been closely following. The only difference is I sometimes will have a little bit more of like quote unquote some of those gassy vegetables, and I kind of use that actually the opposite reason that Stan doesn't like them. They tend to fill you up. So I'm trying to restrict myself. So the broccoli, the asparagus, the Brussels sprouts, they do have a lot of micronutrients, but they can be hard to digest. But for me, that's kind of a good thing because it helps me keep me fuller longer. So I usually kind of keep my feeding window on training days a little bit more condensed. And then from Fridays to Saturday, I've been hitting at least a 24-hour fast. That's been working out really well. I feel good. I don't recommend fasting for beginners. I don't recommend fasting for people that are training intensely, but Saturday is an off day for me. I usually do some yoga or some walking, so it's nothing intense. I don't do any weight training on that day, so the fasting makes sense. So I usually cut my food off around 12 o'clock on Friday, and then going into Saturday, I'll fast at least till 12 o'clock the next day. This particular, I hit like a PR in fasting, I guess you could say. I did somewhere between 27 and 28 hours. I think I did like 12:30 to like 3:30 or so the next day. So I guess you figure 27 hours about. So I'll see if I can kind of push that a little bit longer. I will be coaching this upcoming weekend at the RPS Newark Conquest of the Gods. Bench and Benny's going to be going for an 800-pound bench, along with some of our other lifters. Will be competing as well in bench only. So I will be preoccupied at least. Hopefully I won't get too tired spotting and loading and handing off. We shall see. But that's going to be the goal. So I'd like to maybe push the fast closer to 30 hours this week, and then we'll go from there. I don't really foresee myself going more than like 36 hours, but I just want to kind of challenge myself a little bit because I do feel it's been helping and my weight's been kind of steadily dropping, and I've still been able to maintain my muscle mass and still been able to maintain a good pace of losing body fat. So that's kind of like on the diet front. Really excited about that. That's going well. I'm happy. We'll kind of go through the good stuff as far as training. I did mostly raw stuff. I did some raw stuff at the beginning of the week, and I did some light equipped stuff for deadlifts. So this particular week, I did a bunch of triples. I worked up to 520 for a triple in the Gangsta wraps. So those are a little bit of a looser material than the Pioneer Lillibridge wraps. I really like the. Some people actually prefer like some of our women and some of our equipped lifters prefer the slingshot wraps just because they're a little more forgiving. They're a little more stretchy. So if you have let's say a student that has a little bit more stopping power and you don't need as much stopping power out of your knee wrap, or you're someone that tends to have trouble hitting depth, then the Gangsta wraps or the strong wraps can be a good option for you. A lot of our women and our equipped lifters like those a lot, and I like those for training. It helps me get a little bit of an overload with still getting good depth. So I worked up to 520 for a triple raw with wraps, and then I did 570 and 610 reverse bands for 2 sets of doubles. That was good. And I did some back down volume in just my sleeves with 430. I think I did 2 sets of 5, and then I used around 475 for my belt squat. Now I'm exclusively training in flat shoes only, so as I get closer to the competition, it's going to be a little bit more specific. So I will not be using my heels anymore. for any squatting movement. I'm going to be using flat shoes only, so it's a little bit more specific. I'm going to start to do a little bit wider stance variations that are going to transfer a little bit better to the lift, and I just won't be doing as much quad work. It'll be a little bit more of a hip, glute, and hamstring emphasis and low back emphasis as I get closer to the contest. Benching was not great this week. If you watched our video from last week, I did a stupid thing. This was, again, do as I say, not as I do moment. I've had this conversation many times with some of our athletes, and this was just kind of a bonehead move, and it's shame on me. It is what it is. But I had on our last Subtotal Sunday, I guess it's 2 weeks ago now. I had a great squat session. Worked up to 880 with reverse bands. Did a smashed a 790 squat. Did an 840 reverse band monster mini squat. I was very tired after that session, and I was struggling with 440 on the bench, which up until that point I was hitting 455 pretty comfortably. So that was like kind of the first session where my performance actually went down and decreased. So I was thinking maybe I was panicking a little bit. It was kind of stupid, and to be honest, I was only 15 pounds off of my best. So I probably should have just chalked it up to a bad day on the bench and just moved on. But stupidly, I just decided to use a looser bench shirt on Tuesday. So I went Sunday and Tuesday that week in a row. I worked up to 365 and 405 in a looser shirt. And then I missed 425, which was bad, and I did 435 with reverse micro minis. So I ended up kind of doing the same load on the bar, but it was actually ended up being a little bit worse in terms of the workout. And then after that, when I was doing my floor pressing the following Friday, things felt kind of funny, so I kind of stayed lighter at the 225, 235 range, which is pretty light for floor presses for me. And then inclines felt a little off too. So then when I got to benching on my main day Tuesday, 220, I was expecting to do work up to somewhere in the 275 range for doubles. I only worked up to 225 for a couple of doubles, so that was 50 pounds off from what my expectations were. And then I only worked up to 315 for a single in the slingshot, and I think I did maybe a double or 3 with the bench freak band. But just for a frame of reference, before I hurt my shoulder, my last warm up before I got my bench shirt was routinely 315. I was hitting earlier this year. I was hitting 315 for a triple, which again nothing earth shattering, but that's where I was at. And then I benched 418 with the slingshot in competition at the Super Training Classic earlier this year. That was back in January, so that was pre any of my shoulder problems, and kind of so things are not great right now as far as the shoulder, but I just need to kind of work things out. Things were actually a little bit better today, so I think I accumulated way too much fatigue. I just kind of shocked my system getting in the shirt twice in a short period of time. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm making sure Elvis and everyone else kind of make sure I don't train like an idiot the next 2 weeks, so I can get back on track with bench training. So not a great session for bench, but got the work in that I could. I did some lighter board pressing with 195 to 205. It was very, very light. Then I think I did some Spoto presses with 185. I did hit a seal row PR. I did do 220, so I'm challenging Elvis for the seal row belt and working my way up. I'm slowly working my way up. I'm not trying to blow up my load, so I'll get back up there. But seal row, joking aside, seal rows felt good. Worked up to 220, I think, for something around 5 reps or more for my top set. And then I did some reverse grip, some supinated grip with 165 for some lighter work as well. So seal rows felt good. I was happy about that. So my mid-back strength is getting better, but my lat strength on this side needs to get a little better. My shoulder strength on this side needs to get a little bit better now. So I'm having some issues actually on the opposite side. This was the original shoulder that I hurt back in November. The shoulder that I hurt in March is pretty much good to go now. So now I think I was overcompensating on my good side. So it's been kind of going back and forth. I'm getting some massage work tomorrow, so hopefully things will kind of clear itself up. And I'm just going to be doing some dynamic bench work this cycle. So I'm hoping Friday's just going to be more of a light bench day and some accessories. So I'm hoping that'll help as well. So it'll be more of a true kind of West Side kind of, I want to do kind of a pendulum wave where I start at 50%. We're up to 60%. I might do some workup sets on the weeks I feel good, and then I'm going to use some incline pressing as a secondary movement because the incline press has always been a good builder for me, and I'm just going to do some more repetition work with the incline press after the dynamic bench with bands. So on to deadlifts today. Felt pretty good. Worked up. I used my training briefs, my very loose briefs. The loose briefs are basically a dress at this point, so I probably will do one more workout with them, and then probably end up giving those away to maybe like Brandon or some of the other guys that are bigger that can actually use them effectively. But anyway, they were just good to kind of get support on. So I did some sumo and conventional deadlifts in the warm-up. I worked up to 395 with that, and I started to go exclusively sumo. I did my last warm-up at 455, and then I did my working sets at 495. I did 2 sets of 2 at 495, and then I did a top set of 5 at 495, so that felt pretty good. I felt like I could have done like 8 reps or more, so I was happy to like leave a little in the tank. I didn't want to blow my load today, again with the shoulder and everything else. And then I did working sets. I did 365. So before I pump the brakes a little bit. So now, like going to the meet, I'm going to be using more sumo-specific variation. So I'm going to be doing less conventional work, and I'm going to be doing more wide stance work. So I'm going to be my secondary movement for this cycle is going to be a block pull. I find the block pull is really good for building the hips and creating good start position for the sumo deadlift. We use a 1.5 DC block. So after I did my primary sumo work, I did a 1.5 inch block pull, used a DC block. For that, I did my first set of 365. I did 3 sets of 8 on this particular day. I was only planning on doing 6, but my hips felt pretty good. So I elected to just use a little bit lighter weight, stay with the lighter weight, and just do more reps, and I'll do more weight and less reps next week and build that up in a linear fashion. So I did 365 for a set of 8. That was completely raw, and I did 395 for 2 sets of 8. So I was happy about that. I got to train with Fish and Melon today, so that was a good. She did awesome. She hung with the big boys. That was fun. Yeah, so that was good. And afterwards, I did 3 sets of 8 with the belt squat. Good morning. I used a conventional stance for that. Could have been a little bit better. These definitely felt hard on my lower back. Was a little fatigued. Just for whatever reason, maybe from like the heavy squatting on Sunday, but I'm definitely going to continue to push up the belt squat good morning. I want to try to use a little stricter and use a little bit less help with my arms and try to sit back a little bit more to tap into my hamstrings. But it felt good. 3 sets of 8 is a good amount of volume, and like I said, anything over like 405 is pretty challenging for me on the good mornings. I'll continue to build those up. Maybe I can get back up to like a 500-pound good morning at some point, but I want to make sure I'm not kind of cheating and making it like a half squat. So after I review the videos on this, I'll kind of assess if I need to make a smaller jumps or if I can go up to like 435 or 455 next week. But I do want to continue to build up things that'll kind of keep my back strength up, even if I'm not doing as much heavy conventional work the rest of the cycle. So yeah, like I mentioned before, then the 4th day tomorrow, I'll do some like speed benching with bands. I'm going to use like a kind of a pendulum wave, and that's going to be kind of how the training is going to look moving forward. As I get closer to the contest, I'm going to be kind of in my equipment a little bit more often. I'm going to be using wider stance variations a little bit more often, using more specific variations. So it's going to be like more board pressing on like the benching days to kind of target my triceps, and more things to kind of target my hips, my glutes, and my hamstrings to make sure my lockouts, and I'm able to shove my knees out, shove the material out to kind of aid in equipped lifting. That's going to be really important. So that's my weight loss journey so far. This is my training recap and road to 198. If you guys want to support the program, there's a couple of things you could do. You can check out the links below. You can also give us a 5-star review. You can review us on Google. You can review us on iTunes for Powerlifting People. You can review us on Facebook. All those 5-star reviews make a big difference. It helps spread the message of strength. And obviously, if you ever want to get coaching or anything like that, you can check out the links below to sign up. Every little bit helps, guys, and it helps keep the lights on, keep the program going. So if you found some value in this, please subscribe, check out the links, and until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.